It takes boldness to speak up in a meeting and say, I'm not sure this is going to work. And if you'll give me a few minutes, I'll explain why. It takes boldness to quit your job because the place you're working at is holding you back or just running out the clock every day. You don't belong there. You're not giving your employer what she deserves because you're not committed to it. And it takes boldness to say, I got to get out of here and figure out where I belong.
Hello, and welcome back to the Connected Mindset Live. I'm your host, Greg Tomczyk. Such a pleasure to be here. We have Mr. Fred Joyal on with us. It's going to be one of those episodes where you're going to walk away feeling a little bit more connected. We're going to be talking about a topic today that I'm very passionate about. It's been huge in my business, something I'm continually refining. And I know we've heard from you that you're looking to adopt this. So we wanted to bring Fred on. In early conversations with Fred, I was able to tease out some things that I was working on, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. So Fred, good morning, and thanks so much for joining us.
Greg, excited to be here.
Excellent. Fred, so how we like to start the show is, what mission are you on, and what are you hoping that each person listening in today walks away with?
I am on a mission to get 100 million people to live bolder lives and chase their dreams more boldly. And I hope that all your listeners come away with an understanding that boldness builds just like a muscle. It's a life skill that can be learned. It's not a personality trait. And that I can show you the steps to get there, that it is possible and it can happen faster than you think.
I love it. Yeah, I think people often think of confidence, boldness, the ability to go out and do something big in the world as a personality trait. It's a part of who they are and who they were born to be. And so taking a step back, how did boldness come into your life, and how did you come to that moment of, I need to be more bold, and then going out and teaching other people what you learned through that process?
I was a very shy person growing up and through high school and college even. And the thing is, it just frustrated me. It made me angry because I kept missing opportunities. I kept stacking these regrets of when I should have stepped up or spoken up or done something, said yes, basically, instead of, oh no, I don't know, or just hesitated. I mean, that's what a lot of us do, is we hesitate and overthink long enough to miss the opportunity. And I still see it happen all around me. And I just said, this changed my life when I just said, I need to become bolder. And I gradually figured out how I did it as well, so that I could teach people. And like most people, the people who can teach it are the people who had to learn it. Like somebody, one of my guests on my podcast talked about that he said, I've always been bold. He says, I couldn't teach anybody how to do it. He says, I was just this way because my parents ignored me. So in order to get attention, I needed to just be bold all the time. And it was just reinforced which is what happens when you act boldly, is it the universe supports you in it. And you find out that the doors swing open and unexpected things happen all the time in a positive way. Mm-hmm. So I just decided I have to write a book. I have to start talking to people about it. I spent a long time as an entrepreneur, but I didn't really discover my boldness till I walked into an ad agency and went, oh, these are my people. I can do this. And I got so excited about it that I just opened up. And I was constantly being rewarded for my boldness in the agency on the creative side. And then eventually got bold enough to start my own business, which, half crazy, half bold. It's always the combination of the two with a
Yeah.
business. You have to be somewhere between naive and overconfident to start a business. Because if you knew how hard it was going to be, you would like, no, that's crazy. Why am I doing this?
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And I think a lot of people that start companies and get years in, they realize that in order to get themselves to that point of, they've finally reached maybe a deep breath, it's, wow, I had to be crazy to get here, and really kind of avoid a lot of the signs that were telling me to quit and give up. And what do you see as the difference between being bold and being crazy?
I think there's a measured sense of what you want, and that you are calculating the downside, but you're not afraid of the risk. You know that there's risk involved, but you know that everything important requires taking risks. That includes the possibility of failure. Playing it safe is, to me, the most dangerous pathway in life, because you're missing everything, and then at the end of your life you just went, I played it really safe, and all I have are regrets right now.
Mhm.
And so crazy is like you're ignoring the messages and not calculating the real risk involved, and saying and accepting it. Crazy is saying, I'm not going to, I don't want to think about the risk. Bold people still think about it, but they act, and they say, whatever happens, I'm going to deal with it. Everything goes wrong in a business at some point, somewhere, and it's just, and decisions are just something you make. There's no such thing as being able to make the perfect decision. You make a decision and then make it work, or correct it along the way. And that's, survivable mistakes is how I built my business and how I coach other businesses. It's like, you want to, and that's, I think that's the difference between bold and crazy, is the crazy person doesn't worry if it's a survivable mistake or not.
Yeah. 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 Wow. I love the survivable mistake. I think that's huge. I know in my business early on, going from working for somebody else and not really having to recognize the risk, you recommend ideas and you go carry them out. But sometimes you don't realize how these leaders are rationalizing things that get pushed forward and things that, the flame gets put out. So I think those survival mistakes is such a key point for people to cling on to, because when you look at making any choice, you got to think about, can I survive if this is a drastic failure? And most of the time you can, but if you don't have that confidence and the boldness to be able to go do it, you're always going to ask, what if I did this? And I think a lot of people at the end of their days, are wishing they did something, traveling more, starting that company, saying I love you more. So I think all of that takes boldness. But how have you looked at, and in the speeches you give and the books you've written, what does boldness look like from a general standpoint? I know it's about choices, it's about going out there and doing something big. But what does boldness look like to the common individual? Maybe somebody that's not running a business, maybe it's an individual that's trying to get their footing and grow their career, family, lifestyle.
It takes boldness to ask for a raise or a promotion in a business. It takes boldness to speak up in a meeting and say, I'm not sure this is going to work, and if you'll give me a few minutes, I'll explain why. It takes boldness to quit your job because the place you're working at is holding you back, or you're just running out the clock every day. You don't belong there. You're not giving your employer what she deserves, because you're not committed to it. And it takes boldness to say, I gotta get out of here and figure out where I belong.
Mhm.
Those things. I mean, it takes boldness to say, I'm going to prioritize being a parent over my job because my kid is entering middle school and she's going to be in college before I know it, because that's the reality. It's a blink before your kids go off to college and you have spent the most time you will ever spend with them already, and you don't get it back. And you go, well, I built my business. And they go, yeah, but I really wanted you there. You don't have to be there for every soccer game. You also need, I think it takes boldness to not be a helicopter parent or a lawnmower parent that is trying to protect that child from everything. It takes boldness to do tough love and let your kid fall and make mistakes and learn that the world isn't fair, so you have to make it fair. All of those things are hard. I mean, my older brother had polio. He was caught in the last polio epidemic, and it impaired his body physically. But my mom let him go out and play every day, and he very often came in bleeding, and she'd tape him up and send him back outside. That takes boldness, because you want to protect your child from hurt. But you can, when you protect them from all hurt, they leave your house totally impaired for the real world.
Yeah. That's fascinating how you've, taken the things you've learned from a business standpoint and then, seen them in your, in your upbringing, which I think it's critical for a lot of us to have that kind of reflection. Obviously not be in reflection all the time, but I think a key point to that is kind of getting feedback from your past, thinking about your present, asking for feedback, and then thinking about what this could look like in the future. How did you come to, did somebody show you what boldness was throughout your career, or did you just kind of put the puzzle together? You saw that people needed more, you needed more of it, and then you thought people needed more of it.
I had some bold people in my life, and I would see them and I would say, why are they not processing rejection like I am? Why are they speaking up, stepping up? Why are they not embarrassed? Why are all of those things that I was experiencing? Because I worried about what everybody thought. And I just said, oh, I have to be uncomfortable. I just have to emulate them. And what happens is your comfort zone gets bigger by being bolder. And this is the great mystery and conundrum that I figured out, is people think, well, I would be bolder if I were more confident. The reality is it's bold action that builds your confidence, not the other way around. Bold people do stuff all the time that they're not confident about how it's going to go. They go anyway. They don't stop themselves. The rest of us stop ourselves. We are the number one self-stopper. Yeah. We come up with all of the things that could go wrong that stop us. Bold people may come up with them, but they act anyway. And what they discover is 95% of the time, nothing bad happens. Even if it's a failure of some kind, it's information. It's like, oh, I want to go meet that guy. I'm going to go over and talk to him and introduce myself. I've always admired him. And you go over and you bumble it completely, and the guy stiff arms you, and you end up walking away. And the bold person goes, wow, I bobbled that one. I got to be a little more prepared if I'm going to go walk up and talk to Richard Branson. What am I think about what I'm going to say, and you just get better at it. Whereas the rest of us go, oh, that went so bad, I'm never doing that again. That felt bad. Bold person goes, yeah, that felt really bad. I would like to do that without feeling bad. So I'm going to prepare better. I'm going to think about it better. I'm going to do it more. Wow, those last 5 cold calls didn't work at all. I'm going to ask my manager, it's like, can we listen to the recordings of these things? What the heck am I saying wrong here? That's what a bold person does. This bold person is really comfortable saying, help me. I think I'm off course. I'm screwing up. I'm messing up. I need help. The rest of us don't want to admit that we need help.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, it's like, we're embarrassed if we're not perfect. Bold people go like, I'm absolutely not perfect, but I can't let that stop me.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't expect anybody else to be perfect, but we say, oh, it'll be, people are going to laugh at me, I'm going to be embarrassed, I'm going to have a failure, and failure is this thing in our whole education system, the F. Nobody wants to get an F. Well, guess what? You need to learn to get an F, because that's how you learn how to walk, that's how you learn how to talk, that's how you learn how to ride a bike. Fail, fail, fail till you succeed. The brain is just used to running programs of failure. There's a statistic that says when a child is learning to walk, the brain is running roughly 1 million attempts a day to figure out how to get on your feet. All of them are failures until you start staying upright. It's how we're made. We're actually made to learn from failure, but we've become afraid of it because we don't want to be judged as a failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it stops everybody. It stops most people in their tracks, except bold people. And I want more bold people out there. We got big problems in this world that need to be solved, and I need to help people be bold enough to believe they can solve them, because the world is a complicated mess right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's revolutionary for everybody to hear, that boldness is a prerequisite to confidence. A lot of people think I need to be confident, and then I go out in the world and spread that. And because of the human experience being such an up and down battle, when you're doing anything challenging, your confidence isn't like this. And people think that, you just get more confident as you accomplish things, and eventually you reach the top where you're the CEO or the president of the United States, or you're running a country, whatever you're doing. And you only got there because you were superhuman and had this ability to just succeed all the time. And I think somebody said this, and I love the thought around it, is I've had so many crises in my life, but I think you said 95% of them never happened because it's all up in the brain.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and there's just examples everywhere. I think that the great example is Lincoln lost every election he ever ran in until he ran for president. I mean, it's like, but everything he did informed how to run for president, which became the most important thing he did in his life, and one of the most important things that ever happened to the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's okay to fail your way upward. That's really what you're doing. And you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You got to go in, and people say, well, because hesitation is what happens. We hesitate and play enough negative stuff in our head about what could go wrong that the window of opportunity closes. Because the window doesn't stay open till you're ready. The window opens for a moment or two sometimes. It's a go in or it's gone situation. Somebody says, let's be partners in this business, and you say, I don't know, I got to think about it, I got give me a couple of weeks. And a couple of weeks later they found another partner.
Yeah.
Who said, wow, that sounds great, I'm in, how do I get in? So it's like I said, we hesitate. So somebody just asked me just yesterday, they said, what do you tell somebody who's feels themselves hesitating and missing an opportunity? I said that awareness should be a trigger, and you should be saying, the window's closing, I need to go, I don't need to be confident, I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And see what happens, not know what happens. Everybody wants to know how it's going to go ahead of time. You can't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you just go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Just go. Yeah. I think, to me, and I got into the business world when social media is really just at the center of what everybody's doing to grow their business. I think social media can create more overthinking because you see all these other people doing it, and you're like, it's too competitive. And I'm wondering, when people find themselves, whether they're, in a job, wanting to start their own business, or they're starting a business, want to hire that next person to take that risk, and they're overthinking it. They're just like you said, the window's closing and they're trying to make the perfect decision. How do people, I know it's, just go, but how do you get people to kind of, it's almost like snapping back into consciousness, because they're so in their head on, trying to crunch all the different pieces of the puzzle to make that perfect decision. I think it is just action, but is there anything you've come across or written about that really help people kind of
Well,
recognize the feeling and just jump?
well, people say, well, like, why am I hesitating? I said, because you haven't built your boldness muscle yet. You're not strong enough yet so that you take action. So you have to take risks when the stakes are low. You have to do it as exercise. Boldness builds like a muscle. I'll say this a million times. Just like you would exercise, you have to strain yourself enough to get stronger. You can't start curling 3 pounds with your arms and hope to get stronger. But you also can't start with 100, because you won't get one curl in.
Right.
Or you'll try to start benching with 300 pounds, and it's just going to crush your chest. So you control the intensity of it when the stakes are low. You say, I'm just going to go talk to this person in Starbucks, because what's the worst that could happen? They tell you to buzz off. You didn't even need to meet them. But what you're doing is you're doing the exercises. We do sit-ups not because we're going to have to sit up 100 times at one time. We're doing it to strengthen our core.
Mm-hmm.
And so strengthen your boldness core by doing bold things when the stakes are really low. Talk to strangers. My book is full of exercises that are tiered up from some nonverbal exercises all the way to some really crazy stuff. But you can't start at level 5. You start at level 1 and go at your own pace, just making sure you're always uncomfortable. Because one of the things that we do in life is we pursue comfort as an end, whereas comfort is really a rest stop to go back out and being uncomfortable and chase your dreams and discover the world and find something new to do and learn and become. And so stop pursuing comfort as an end and pursue discomfort as an exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ray Dalio said it in his book Principles. It's you either you have two choices, it's either comfort or chaos. And he said, every time I choose chaos, and look what he's accomplished. And I think it resonates with that, because people are seeking convenience and comfort so much that you're not going to take a risk when you always want comfort, because it's uncomfortable. And it can lead to comfort in the future, but you oftentimes don't see you don't see the comfort in the chaos. And that's the hard part for people to take that action, is you got to choose between comfort or chaos. And if you want to be bold, you have to choose that high risk, high reward type situation, and that's the only way you grow.
Well, and what bold people discover is that when they do step up, when they do go in without knowing what the outcome's going to be, that something unexpectedly positive often comes from it. So what happens is you develop new neural pathways by altering your behavior. Like I said, by being uncomfortable, but controlling the dosage of that discomfort so that you are getting stronger for when it matters. You want boldness to be your reflex when it really matters. You see that woman you really want to meet. You see that business person you always wanted to talk to. You see that business opportunity, and you don't overthink it to the point where that opportunity goes away. Oh, somebody told me to get that stock. Somebody told me to buy Nvidia, but I had to research it for a couple of months. Well, guess what? You missed it. Because and you didn't bet $10,000, which you could handle, you were trying to decide if you could bet 100. So instead of putting in 10 and making 200, you overthought it to the point where you wouldn't putting in anything wouldn't matter. And we are masters at overthinking stuff. And bold people say, I'm going to figure it out on the fly. I'm going to hope the parachute opens. And what happens is the parachute opens, and all of a sudden you have an amazing experience everywhere. The number of times that I went in without an expectation, without an agenda, that something amazing happened just because I went into the environment. I took a chance. I mean, it is so often that it is my default mode. I'm going to say, geez, I wonder what will happen if I do this. I wonder if Schwarzenegger will actually talk to me if I walk up to him. And that happened to me, and he was not in the mood to talk.
Right.
I didn't decide he was a jerk.
Yeah.
I decided it was the wrong time to talk to him, because I walked up to Tom Hanks and started talking to him, and we had a 20-minute conversation. So it was just I just said, I'm going to see what happens, and whatever happens is going to be all right. You know, that one of my favorite stories is, you know, I was on Necker Island with a bunch of business people. We rented the island from Branson, and he was there. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. And I ruptured my Achilles tendon playing tennis. So I was kind of trapped, and I couldn't go home. And so I'm sitting there watching people play tennis, and Branson comes over and says, "Oh, this is such a bother that this has happened to you. Do you happen to play chess?" Now, the correct answer is, I haven't played chess in 40 years. But what did I say? Yes. Because the overthinker says, oh, you haven't played chess in 40 years. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to lose to him in 5 moves. I'm going to feel like an idiot. He's going to say, why did you say yes? And I said, yes. And he waved somebody, bring a chessboard over, and we sit down and we play. And I play such an unconventional game because I'm trying to remember how to play, that I beat him. And he's like, he immediately sets the chessboard up again, calls me a really bad name, sets the chessboard up again. We ended up playing chess all week. People were complaining that I was monopolizing him. And I was like, he's coming to find me. And it was all because I said yes when it was much easier to say no, much safer to say no. But because of it, I got to spend time with the business person I admire most in the world. How often do you get to do that? Would you like to miss that? Would you like to gnaw at that regret the rest of your life? Or would you like to have said, wow, I just said yes. And I have one more neural pathway. Say yes, go in, speak up, try it. Because there will be times in your life where it will need to be your default mode, because the window of opportunity may be seconds, or it may be so important that if you miss it, you'll regret it till your dying day. And it could be, the example I always use is giving a eulogy for a parent or a close friend. I know so many people who say, oh, I don't want to say anything. I'm not comfortable speaking in front of people. It's like, this isn't a speaking gig. This is your last chance to say how you feel about this person. You're never going to get this chance again. And I'm sure this has happened to you. How many times have you been there where people didn't say anything? Like, would anyone like to say anything? Nobody says anything till finally one person does. And then gradually other people, because it got a little safer. And that person cried. And you say, oh, well, it's okay to cry. It's a funeral, right? Like, yes, it's okay to cry. It's kind of unusual not to. But those things, and there will be 3, 4, 5 times. Do I quit this job? Do I ask this person to marry me? Do I ask for a divorce? Do I, start this business? Times where you have to step up. Somebody tells a joke that's no longer appropriate. You want to be able to speak up, say, you shouldn't be telling that joke anymore. I love you, but you shouldn't be telling it. You need to learn to not tell jokes like that anymore. That's over. Oh, well, it's like, it's you and me. It's like, yeah, I get it. Stop telling that joke.
Right.
That to me is real boldness. Boldness isn't being a show off and getting attention to yourself. Boldness is speaking up when you need to speak up, stepping up when it's important, when the course of your life is at stake, or somebody else's life. When so many times we're afraid to give somebody that important feedback that will make a huge difference. Oh, well, I don't want to criticize them. No, don't criticize them. Say, I love you, and I really need you to know this because I think you're missing this. My best friends are the ones that tell me when I'm off course. They'll call me aside and say, like, what are you doing with this person? Why, why are you spending money on this? Whatever it is. A good friend is great company. A great friend calls you out when you're off course, because we all get off course.
Yes, we do.
We need somebody who knows us and says, is this who you really become? Or is this who you want to be? You need to fix this about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost a character trait. I don't know if you have described it. I know it's a muscle, it's a skill, but it's a character trait we all seek, whether it's a leader, a great friend, and it's so tangible to think about it as something that you can build. It's not just this person is the way they are. They're scared to take risks. They don't tell me when they feel a certain way. They don't give me the feedback that I need. That's looking at their character and saying, they don't have the boldness that allows them to take action in both of our, best favors. And that can be scary and honestly higher risk than actually taking that action.
Well, and it comes down to self-definition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shy. I don't like speaking in public. I'm not funny. I'm not interesting. You're not interesting to anybody.
Right.
You're not shy at Thanksgiving dinner. You behave shy in certain situations. Stop defining yourself by a behavior. Stop being attached to it, because it's a safe thing. I'm shy, therefore I don't have to attempt all of these things because they make me uncomfortable. They scare me. Well, they scare me too, but that means I have to try them because I don't want to be scared anymore. I want to know if it's going to go well or badly. And the only way I'm going to find out is to step up, to step in, to try. Because here's the transformation. When you start to develop your boldness muscle, is trying and failing feels better, way better than not trying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it again. Trying and failing in the end will feel better than not trying. Because when you get to the end of your days, you're going to reflect on all the things you didn't do, you didn't say, you didn't fix, you didn't try. All of your failures, all of your mistakes, all of your embarrassments will mean nothing in those last days of your life. It'll be like, I should have quit that job. I should have asked that woman to marry me. I should have started that business. I should have fixed my relationship with my brother. I should have eulogized my father. All of those things are what will gnaw you until you draw your last breath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my framework is, am I going to say I shoulda, coulda, woulda, done this? And if it's a yes, then just go ahead and jump in and do it. Jump off the plane to see if the parachute's going to open up. And typically, it has up to this point. One day it might not, but I could say that I didn't have a regret for actually taking the plunge. And that's just come up so many times through professional sports, when you have to take that bold action to get to the next team and go against people who are way better than you. And you're like, wow, now I'm better than them. But if you don't take that ultimate plunge, and it's the same in business, where when you're just starting out, that 5-10-year-old company, it looks so daunting to compete with them and to go again, try to get their clients and try to have a superb solution that's going to be recognized in the market. It looks so daunting that most people don't do it. But once you do it, and you're serving the same clients they are, and people are telling you, hey, your company is better than them because you've innovated faster, and they got complacent. And you're like, wow, if I didn't take that, sign that LLC paperwork, or sign the S corp paperwork to get started, and just put my foot out there, it would have never happened.
Well, and there's something to committing too. Like, you start your business, you raise money from your friends, you better do everything you can to make it work. And what happens is, when you are fully committed, when you burn the boats in the harbor or let the door lock behind you so you can only go forward, you get really creative. And as long as you're persistent, which is the number one feature of any personality trait of and behavior of any successful person, is persistence. Is just get up in the morning and try to do better, try to solve the problems. The fact that you're committed, I experienced that the universe just rewards you for not having plan B, C, and fall back. And you just go like, I got to make this work. Because if in the back of your mind, you're going, well, I could always go back to the other job and stuff like that, and I could just fold, and it's like having, I'll just tell people I lost their money and stuff. There's something about that commitment that makes stuff happen. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it over and over again. The other thing, and I was trying to remember this, is when you fail completely and utterly once or twice and you find your way back, you really become unafraid of failure, because you say, wow, I bounced all the way to rock bottom and found my way back. And you say, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought. It was not fun, but I get up every day and figured out my way back. And once you do that in life, you know something about yourself. One, you weren't terribly unhappy when you were at rock bottom. You were just at rock bottom. And then you found your way back, and you said, oh, so there's a way. And maybe you didn't get back as high, or maybe you got back higher than you were before because you were smarter. But if you never fail miserably, you never know that about yourself. And I think, you learn that in athletics as well. And the beauty of athletics is you do learn that stuff. You learn you have more in you than you thought.
Yeah.
And you also learn that you're going to strike out more than you're going to hit homers. Mm-hmm. And that people are going to be better than you, but you can outwork them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
powerful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. It's at the core of everything we do in life. I mean, it really is. You described it both personally and professionally. I think a lot of people, when they're in a position of success, they only talk about the success. And I realized that early on in my business career. I would go out to people, as an athlete who had to go through transition because I failed. I had to recognize my own failures. But I would ask them, what do I need to know to start my own company? And they would talk all about the prospecting and the good things that they did. But once I started to ask the right questions on what did you actually have to do, so getting a couple layers deeper, and they'd be like, I ran my business for 5 years, went bankrupt, had to blow everything up, and then all of a sudden, I learned from that failure, and I can go back and recreate the same business that I created, which is way better than the one before. And those types of stories are what I look for now. Is when I'm going through situations, who's going to be able to tell me as I'm going through this failure how they dealt with a similar failure? And it's like, it's looking for failure as opposed to looking for success. And I think people want that comfort and success so bad that they ask people, how did you get there? What are you doing that you feel fulfilled and accomplished? And I think it's kind of the wrong question is how'd you get to success? It's what failures have you gone through and what'd you learn from it?
Yeah, not how did you figure out how to not fail at anything? How'd you figure out how to guarantee success?
Mhm.
It's this whole idea is ready, fire, aim. Is is that you're not going to be able to figure out how to guarantee success, especially in the world as it moves as fast as it does today. You're going to have to act and then learn. and
Mhm.
and most of the percentage of failures may be consistently higher, but as long as the wins overcome that, then you will succeed. But if you think you can strategize, and I see people, entrepreneurs, pseudo entrepreneurs, they plan their business, and as long as they're just planning the launch and not actually launching and raising more money to keep planning the launch, they're safe because they're never going to fail because they haven't launched. And they're no, I want to make sure it's going to work. Well, guess what? You can't.
Yeah, yeah. The NASA rocket can't, 100% predict that it's gonna, reach the moon every single time, and 90% of the time it doesn't. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it, and that's the only way you get there though is by launching. And I saw that, started multiple companies, and I've seen people around me start multiple companies, and the ones where they're just like, we're going to release the solution and start to talk about it and just launch it and see what happens. Most of the time, those become the best products or services because you're accepting the feedback as opposed to saying, wait, I don't want feedback on this until I believe it's perfect for everybody out there, which is,
Yeah.
it's debilitating.
No, and so many of, like you say, your past failures, but even in your business, for example, I grossly overinvested in an independent film. I got talked into it because I had good cash flow at the time in my life. Lost all of it. But what I learned in being the producer on that independent film was how to make TV commercials much less expensively. So in my business, I ended up saving millions over the next 10 years, making my business's TV commercials much more affordable. But I had to take it right on the chin with the independent film to learn that. But the only mistake would have been to not learn anything, lose $1 million and not learn anything from it,
Mhm.
not extract some knowledge, wisdom, whatever, and not just uh, retreat and hide. That's not learning. It's like, where's the information that was valuable in this? It wasn't all bad. There's some really good stuff here. What is it? You get time to mourn your mistake. You got to take it, then you got to get back up and start doing stuff, figure it out and learn it and admit, wow, I was wrong here. That was me. That was my lack of diligence. And that was there was a personal lesson in that too, was a sunk cost thing. I only started by investing 300 grand, and I just kept putting more and more money instead of just pulling the plug, because I went, oh, well, I got this much in. If I pull the plug, I'm going to lose 700 grand. I'm going to lose 800 grand. I'm going to lose. I still lost it all,
Mhm.
but I didn't listen. I didn't understand the principle of sunk costs and how at a certain point you just call it. I
Yeah.
learned that the hard way. Sometimes the MBA is really expensive.
Right. Yeah. I love how you took that lesson and put it into your business and ended up saving money in the long term. I think a lot of people, they forget pain. They forget that bad outing. When I would walk into a locker room after a bad outing, and it's probably the couple of the worst ones I've ever had. Coach was like, "All right, just forget about it. We'll come back tomorrow." And I'm like, "Well, I want to talk. I want to learn from that so I can come back tomorrow better, as opposed to just forgetting about it."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the pain. Let's let the healing begin here with knowledge and wisdom coming from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. From an organization, community, business, leadership standpoint, I know I always think about, when I think about boldness, I think about leading by example. So if you're bold, you're going to attract and magnetize, other bold people, but that doesn't always happen. Have you found, a way to help the people that are on your team kind of be more bold? I think it's kind of creating an environment of openness where they feel, and it goes back to that comfort. You don't want people to feel so comfortable to say things, but you want them to develop that bold muscle and exercise it. And I did put the book in the chat here, and I'll put it in the notes so people can check it out. But have you found anything from a exercise standpoint that can help you as a organizational community leader help others build boldness around you?
Yeah, because it's first thing is to let them know you're going to start wherever you are. Everybody has situational boldness, has situational confidence, and everybody's different, and it all depends on the situation. Some people are really funny and comfortable in a group of people, but one-on-one they got nothing. And most people are the other way around. So like wherever you are is where you're going to start to find your discomfort level and push it a little bit and work on it. And it's what you work on every day that changes you.
Yeah.
That becomes habitual. You say, I'm going to talk to a stranger every day. That's what I tell a lot of people. They say, where do I start? Talk to strangers every day. Talk to a stranger. Again, take risks when the stakes are low or almost non-existent. That builds your boldness muscle. You go, oh, this person's not going to want to talk to me. Yeah, so what? They're a complete stranger. You don't know what their headspace is. Maybe they don't talk to anybody. Maybe this is the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
And all you're going to do is do a compliment. You're going to say, that shirt looks great on you. I don't know where you got it, but it really goes with your eyes. Whatever the heck you want to say.
Yeah.
You do a compliment to a stranger, most of the time it's going to go pretty well. And all of a sudden you say, wow, I just made somebody feel better about their day and about themselves. What a great thing to do. And you get something from it. There's that psychic juice that happens when you come from a place where you have no agenda. You're just giving something. And all of a sudden you get, because you did it, because they said, oh, and here's how crazy I've become. If I have a judgment about somebody, I go like, man, that's a ridiculous tattoo that person has, which I say to myself all the time. I will compliment the tattoo.
Yeah.
I'll say, man, that's some righteous ink you have there. I will deliberately compliment the thing I have a judgment about. And two things happen. One, I find out, of course, that they're really proud of that tattoo. And two, I change my opinion of who they were because I have a whole judgment about them because of the tattoo. This person doesn't know how to spend their money. This person doesn't realize they're never going to get a job with that tattoo. It's like I got a whole script that's 95% wrong. But as soon as I compliment that person on that thing, I change my feeling about that person. I change my judgment. And that's the trap we all get into, is we're worried about people judging us. Are we right when we judge people? We're wrong like 90% of the time. So they're wrong about us. So why worry about it? Bold people worry about what 5 people in their life think of them. And they don't worry about anybody else. And that's incredibly liberating.
Yeah, it is. It's like walking around on eggshells when you care about what everybody thinks, and you're not willing to go out and be bold to talk to that stranger because you're like, are they going to think I'm weird? Are they going to think I'm overstepping? And all of that doesn't matter. You really have nothing to lose. And I've found a lot of times going out and doing those things, they reflect back a life story that they've been wanting to tell or that really impacts you. And that's what you mentioned. You give, 5 times and you get 10 because that one person told you a story that helped, make a huge difference in your own life. And I think that's that's what Ed Milet says, just one more. And when you think about, like, you see that person, you're like, just that one more conversation or that one more bold action. I think that's huge.
Yeah. Well, and like you say, I saw this woman. She was dressed all in yellow, bright yellow dress, and I just said to her, it was in the Starbucks, and I just said, "Wow, that dress is really just looks amazing on you. It is really working for you." And she said, "Oh, yes, thank you so much for saying that." She says, "I was just feeling really down today. I thought I'm just going to wear something bright and see if it makes any difference. So thank you for saying that." So I was right there. She was trying to feel better about herself. And just because I was feeling generous with a compliment, I contributed to her upliftment. What a beautiful thing to get to do. I don't need anything else out of my day if I do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what, think about what you can do with your fellow man.
Yeah.
And there are situations where somebody really needs that and you can't tell from the outside.
Yeah, life's an internal job, as some people say. So yeah, Fred, it's been excellent. A lot of impact here. People need this topic, they need this skill, but they don't know what word to put to it. And I think you've really done an excellent job. And I want to acknowledge you for putting this out, something you've realized has impacted you, and helping, find those people that need this most and are going to make those incredible changes in the world because they have this muscle built up. I know people want to connect with you after the show. Where can they find you, connect with you, consult with you on building their own boldness?
Yeah, so fredjoyal.com, Joyal. And you can always book 30 minutes with me. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, whatever your journey is. If you want me to speak to your company or your team, love doing that. And I can do a keynote, I can do a workshop. Workshop will really put people through some changes. And the book, Super Bold, is on Amazon, hardcover, Kindle, and Audible, and it's me reading it. So if you want to hear me talk about this endlessly, buy the Audible.
Excellent. Fred, really appreciate the time. One of the questions we like to ask to sum up the show, we're all about connection here and connecting to strategies, connecting to boldness, connecting to the things that are going to help us live our best lives. What does connection mean to you personally, professionally?
I'll take the bigger meaning is I believe that we're all connected. I believe the biggest illusion that we have is that we're all separate.
Yeah.
I believe that we are connected and have the ability to connect with anyone. Everybody's interesting. Everybody's struggling. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody is deserving of love and care and attention. And the people I'm connected to, they know that I love them, and they know that I care about them, and they know that I expect them to call me out when I'm off course, or when I'm neglecting them, or when I'm just wrapped up in myself. They tell me the truth. That's a real connection in my mind.
Yeah, that's huge. I think everybody should be looking for that, and it's excellent you've been able to find that through your life, and that's a life well lived. Fred, greatly appreciate your time and insights and what you're doing to bring this to the world. The world needs more of it, and looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Thanks, Greg. It was great to be on.